A perplexing encounter. It was a fine morning when Charles Bingley and I arrived at Netherfield Park. The estate was elegant, and its surroundings were picturesque, but my thoughts were occupied with matters far beyond the beauty of the countryside. I was determined to maintain my reserve and not let the world see the inner workings of my heart. At the Meryton Assembly, I first beheld the charming Miss Elizabeth Bennet. Her lively spirit and captivating wit immediately caught my attention. She seemed to float through the crowd with grace, engaging all in conversation. As I observed her from a distance, I found myself drawn to her against my better judgment. My heart battled my reason, and I struggled to comprehend the emotions that she stirred within me. The assembly. As the evening progressed, a chance encounter brought Miss Elizabeth and me face to face. With trepidation, I approached her, hoping to engage in polite conversation. Alas, our initial encounter was far from pleasant. I was unable to mask my reticence, and in my awkwardness, I unintentionally offended her. This interaction planted the seeds of prejudice that would haunt our relationship. Wickham's claims. The arrival of George Wickham, a dashing officer in the militia, added further intrigue to the unfolding drama. He quickly befriended the Bennet family, particularly Elizabeth, and skillfully painted himself as a victim of my family's alleged wrongdoing. His tales of mistreatment and betrayal at my hands garnered Elizabeth's sympathy. I could not help but feel a pang of guilt as his words made me question my own family's honor and integrity. Determined to understand the truth, I confronted Wickham and demanded an explanation for his grievances. He spun a tale of deceit, accusing my late father of withholding a promised living and my own self of refusing him a deserved inheritance. My anger and confusion were overwhelming, and I vowed to investigate the matter further. Netherfield and Longbourn. As Bingley's friendship with Miss Jane Bennet deepened, we found ourselves frequent visitors at Longbourn, the Bennet family home. I was both delighted and tormented by Elizabeth's presence. Our paths crossed often, leading to several spirited exchanges where our mutual pride clashed head-on. Each time, I found myself drawn to her wit and intelligence while struggling to contain the growing affection within me. Despite my admiration for Elizabeth, I believed myself to be far superior in station and consequence. I convinced myself that such an attachment could only lead to scandal and unhappiness, and thus, I resolved to suppress my feelings. Rosings Park. The formidable Lady Catherine de Bourgh, my aunt, invited us to her grand estate, Rosings Park. There, I discovered her intentions to unite her nephew, Colonel Fitzwilliam, with her sickly daughter, Miss Anne de Bourgh. While I held great respect for my aunt, I could not fathom such a marriage based solely on convenience and expectation. During my stay at Rosings Park, I saw Elizabeth again. Our interactions were limited, but her presence affected me deeply. I found myself studying her reactions and seeking any sign of affection towards Colonel Fitzwilliam, for such a revelation would signal a glimmer of hope for myself. The proposal. Unable to bear the weight of my emotions any longer, I resolved to propose to Miss Elizabeth. I believed my feelings to be reciprocated, encouraged by her apparent preference for my company at Rosings Park. It was a fateful evening when I approached her, my heart pounding with both anticipation and anxiety. We walked along a secluded path, the moonlight casting a soft glow upon us. With trembling words, I expressed my ardent affection for her, laying bare the depths of my feelings. I believed that my proposal would bring us both joy and happiness, sealing our love in matrimony. But to my astonishment, my declaration was met with disdain and accusations of pride. Miss Elizabeth, her eyes blazing with righteous anger, rebuffed my advances. She pointed out the faults she saw in me and criticized my character with biting words. Her rejection cut deep, piercing through the armor of my pride and leaving me bewildered and humbled. In the wake of Elizabeth's rejection, I retreated to the solitude of my estate, Pemberley. The weight of my disappointment and the need to reflect on my own failings consumed me. I found solace in the quiet halls and sprawling gardens, where memories of Elizabeth lingered. Determined to clear my name and expose Wickham's true character, I sat down to pen a letter to Elizabeth. The words flowed from my pen, pouring out my heart and revealing the secrets that plagued my family. I detailed the extent of Wickham's deceit, his squandering of opportunities, and his attempt to elope with my younger sister. It was a desperate plea for understanding, an effort to set the record straight and amend the misconceptions that had tainted our relationship. With each word, I hoped to provide Elizabeth with a different perspective, to unveil the truth that had remained hidden. I bared my vulnerabilities, my regrets, and the genuine remorse I felt for the misjudgments I had made. The letter was a testament to the sincerity of my affections and the lengths to which I was willing to go to rectify past wrongs. Months passed, and the wounds of our previous encounters still stung. I had resigned myself to the possibility that Elizabeth's opinion of me might never change. But fate had a different plan in store. News reached me that Elizabeth and her relatives were touring the area surrounding Pemberley, and it appeared they would pay a visit to my estate. Their unexpected arrival filled me with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. I took great care in ensuring that Pemberley was presented in its most resplendent state. The halls were adorned with fresh flowers, the staff prepared a sumptuous feast, and the grounds were meticulously groomed. I hoped that the beauty of Pemberley would mirror the transformation I longed for in Elizabeth's heart. As the party arrived, I watched from a distance, my breath catching in my throat as Elizabeth's eyes swept over the grandeur of Pemberley. To my relief, she showed no signs of disdain or indifference. Instead, I detected a newfound curiosity and warmth in her gaze. Our interactions at Pemberley were marked by a tentative ease. We engaged in polite conversation, and the barriers that had once stood tall between us began to crumble. We explored the gardens together, sharing laughter and stolen glances. With each passing moment, hope blossomed within me, and I dared to believe that our relationship could be mended. Just as Elizabeth and I found ourselves on the precipice of reconciliation, a terrible scandal threatened to engulf the Bennet family. The youngest Bennet's sister, Lydia, had eloped with Wickham, the very man whose true nature I had tried to expose. The news reached me like a thunderclap, striking me with a sense of foreboding and urgency. Understanding the gravity of the situation, I knew that Lydia's elopement could not go unanswered. Her actions not only jeopardized her own reputation but also cast a shadow of disgrace upon her entire family. With unwavering determination, I set forth to rectify the situation and protect the honor of the woman I loved. Utilizing my resources and connections, I tracked down Wickham and Lydia, discovering them in London. Negotiations were delicate, but I managed to persuade Wickham to marry Lydia, securing her future and sparing her family from ruin. I spared no expense, ensuring they were provided with a comfortable settlement that would shield them from the worst consequences of their actions. The resolution of Lydia's scandal paved the way for Elizabeth's family to welcome me with open arms. The Bennets, grateful for my intervention, saw me in a new light. The barriers of pride and prejudice that had kept us apart began to crumble, replaced by understanding and forgiveness. Elizabeth and I found ourselves increasingly drawn to one another. Our conversations grew more intimate. Our shared moments filled with unspoken longing. It was during a walk through the tranquil gardens of Pemberley that I finally summoned the courage to express my renewed affections and sincere admiration for Elizabeth. With heartfelt sincerity, I professed my love once again, hoping that the growth and self-reflection I had undergone would be evident in my words. I vowed to be a better man, one deserving of her trust and affection. Elizabeth's response was a mixture of surprise and genuine emotion. She confessed her own feelings, acknowledging the transformation she had witnessed in me. In the presence of our loved ones, we exchanged vows and pledged ourselves to one another in marriage. Our union was a triumph over the obstacles of pride and prejudice that had plagued us from the beginning. And in that moment, as we stood together, hand in hand, I knew that our love would endure the test of time. In the years that followed, Elizabeth and I built a life together, guided by respect, understanding, and unwavering love. Our marriage served as a testament to the power of growth, forgiveness, and the ability to overcome the preconceptions that had threatened to tear us apart. Through the ups and downs, the joys and challenges, we faced life as a united front. Our love became a source of strength, propelling us forward and enabling us to weather any storm that came our way. And as we grew old together, I knew that the story of Pride and Prejudice was not just a tale of misunderstandings and misjudgments, but a testament to the transformative power of love, second chances, and the triumph of the heart. And so, the story of Pride and Prejudice as told by Mr. Darcy came to a close, leaving a legacy of hope and reminding us all that true love can conquer even the deepest divides.